Welcome, everybody. Yeah, this is episode 5 of season 2 of My Vulva Me. We've been doing this for 4 episodes now. This is week 3, excuse me. Week 3, episode 5. We're the one episode before the finale, and it is called It Does Matter If You're Black or White. I know Michael said it doesn't, but in reality, it does. So we're going to be talking to two dynamic Black women, Zaykeria Miranda and Dr. Ashley Towns, about their experience being Black women in white-dominated spaces and what that means for them, their work, their impact on the field, and just their overall well-being. Because the thing is that, white people, respectfully, they be tripping. Karens be Karening and doing all number of things. And we're going to dig into all of that and more in just a second. Stay with us.
My vulva, vulva and me. My vulva, my vulva and me. My vulva and me.
Oh, sorry. Y'all know I love that song. Thank you, Goody. You see it. Yeah. So, of course, you already know, brought together by Lisa Brown of Lily Rose. They always gather me together, and I am feeling real good and real pretty today. And so as I tell y'all all the time, I live for when Black women big themselves up. So I don't do no introductions. I allow them to do that themselves because we need a space to let y'all know how dope we really are. So I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to go ahead and bring on our 2 guests for today so we can get right into it. Hey, girl. How are you all doing? Oh my goodness, I am so freaking excited. I mean, Zay, I talk to you all the time, but when I talk to you about this, I was like, is she gonna say no? And same thing with you, Dr. Ashley. I was all like, I'm not crazy. I saw you present before. Like, I'm not a stranger, kind of, sort of, but not really. Like, I was shooting heavy shots for this season, and I am just so grateful that you all agreed to be a part of this and be in this conversation with us. So
absolutely.
we can start with Dr. Ashley, then we can go to Zaykeria. Just go ahead and introduce yourself to the people. Let them know who you are, what you do, and why you're so good at what you do.
Okay, well, hi everyone. Happy Tuesday. Tuesday is my favorite day of the week. So I am born in New York, from Cincinnati, went to the University of Cincinnati, go Bearcats. And I have had a lot of different work experiences from county health departments, state health departments. I am a epidemiologist by trade. See my shirt?
Hey.
And I have my PhD. I attended university. I am currently a researcher at the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta, Georgia. And I love what I do. I study Black women, sexuality, and I don't know, I've presented all over the place, lots of different conferences, domestically, internationally. I'm published. Look me up on PubMed. I had several publications this year, a few in the works. Is that good?
I mean, she said Google me. Basically, what she said is Google
Basically.
me. Epidemiologist, because some of us, we can't even pronounce that. Because I do it and I do it well. Okay, Google me because I have receipts. Thank you so much, Dr. Ashley and Zaykeria Miranda.
Hello. As Brittany said, we talk often, so Brittany and I are good friends. I totally appreciate it. I was a little nervous about saying yes because I was like, man, I'm currently in the workplace, and so just kind of talking about these things. But the good thing is my particular job. So I am an IO psychologist, which is industrial organizational psychologists. So we study the workplace. We study the science behind it and how we can change the workplace with science by applying scientific methods and research and data and analysis. So we do all of those things. But just a little bit about me. I'm from Thomasville, Georgia, born and raised. I currently live in Birmingham, Alabama. I've been here for about 3 years now. I'm working for the largest county in Birmingham, which is Jefferson County, and I work on their selection team. So we do all of the hiring for this county. And actually, our county is under a consent decree. So that is a court order saying that we have violated something after we have been kind of in trouble about something before. And so over 40 years now, so discrimination against Blacks and minorities. So women, Blacks, the whole 9 yards, there was discrimination. So my team was created so that we can rectify that. And so we are all actually on our way out, exiting that consent decree. So because of my team, because of the work that I did there. So I'm very excited about that. Not only am I an IO psychologist, but I'm also a graphic designer. I went to the unsinkable Albany State University, which is an HBCU, and I studied mass communications. And with that, I kind of used that to take a turn into designer communication. So that's a little bit about me.
She said that's a little bit running it down, but that's just a little. That's just such a surface, and that goes to show you how amazing Black women can be. And even when we tell you what we got going on, it still ain't all that we have going on. So I appreciate you all, again for taking the time. I want to publicly acknowledge share my gratitude with everybody and you all. As much as I was like humming all over you all in emails and things like that, I want to say that everything that you all are doing and saying, and me just watching from afar, I'm just like in awe, like legitimately. So if you are, for those of you watching and for our guests today, you already know I live for a good game. I feel like games make everything better. So every episode of My Vulva Me opens with a game, and this one's no different. So as I told you backstage, because we got a backstage and we got a producer, Alexandria Mayer, everybody say, hey, Alex. We are going to play the classic game, Two Truths and a Lie. So how it's going to work is, and I didn't tell you that, but here's the twist. So here's the twist. So Dr. Ashley, you will say your two truths and a lie. And Zaykeria, you have to decide what the lie is and why.
Ooh.
And vice versa. So Zaykeria, you'll answer for Dr. Ashley. Dr. Ashley, you'll answer for me. And then I'll answer for Zay.
Okay.
Yes, that's how it works. So everybody got two truths and a lie. And when it's your turn to answer, pick the lie, you have to say why you are convinced that ain't the truth, that God ain't in that. Okay? All right. So who wants to go first? Go ahead. All right. So Zay, I have to pick your lie. Go ahead.
All right, I want to go first because I want to get this over with. I'm so nervous about it. So two truths and a lie. I've lived in multiple countries. I speak multiple languages, and I'm semi-sneakerhead.
Father God. Can I change the rules of the game? Because oh my God. Okay, so semi-sneakerhead is true. That is a fact because I see your drip, and I'm like, okay, so that part's true. And the countries and the languages, like they're so similar because you might have learned the languages from being in the country. Do you remember the rules? You sure it's a lie in here? Okay, all right. I'm gonna go ahead and say that the countries is the lie. Like you've not lived in America because you real Southern and you real country. I feel like you wouldn't be ass country if you lived in other country. But in the best, I love the country. But I feel like you might not be, even like in the strength of your accent may not be there if you live in other countries. So,
okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
You're totally wrong. I'm only country because I've been living in Birmingham, and for some reason, it kind of rubbed off on me. No, I'm just joking. I've always been country. No, but I have lived in multiple countries. I've lived in China and Honduras, and I do not know multiple languages. Yes, I've been kind of around them, tried to learn them, but it didn't stick for me.
Oh my God.
Wow.
But see, you know what? And this is my girlfriend. Like,
See, I was gonna guess that one, but it wasn't up to me.
well, you must know more than me because I don't know. Obviously, I didn't got it wrong. So, Dr. Ashley.
Okay, my turn.
You will be guessing.
Okay, so I'm an only child. My favorite color is yellow, and I have 9 tattoos.
Ooh.
That's kind of interesting.
I had to write them down because I had to think it through.
9 tattoos. You don't seem like you have 9 tattoos now. You said favorite color yellow, 9 tattoos. What was the third one?
Only child. Only child.
Only child. I can see your favorite color being yellow. You have a little pop of color behind you. I can honestly see you having 9 tattoos because who just randomly says I have 9 tattoos unless you have like 7 and you're trying to boost it up a little bit and get us and throw us off. I don't know if you're only child, but maybe not. I'm gonna go with 9 tattoos because I don't know. It just seems like a big number, and I don't know if that's true.
And the answer is
I am not the only child.
oh.
I'm the middle child. I
Oh,
have tattoos. I went through this very interesting, addicting phase in high school and college, and I was getting them back to back. But yeah, I have 2 siblings, 2 younger siblings, and yes, my favorite color is yellow. I used to actually have a yellow car for like 12 years. Everybody in Cincinnati knew it was me because yellow car, right?
yeah. Who has a yellow car? Yeah. How many people have a yellow car?
Wow, I wouldn't have guessed. I would have guessed if you were the only child. But like I
She
don't know.
doesn't come off as an only child.
But like you should see her present. Like she like shuts it down. Like like this is me. We're gonna do this, and it's like okay, because only child. Like it's either only child or oldest child is what I would have said because
Yeah.
just run like how you handle things.
Mhm.
Okay, so my turn. Y'all ready? Okay, so I went to boarding school in Scotland. I love peppers and onions. I am 5'9" in flats, and most of my heels make me 6'3" or more.
These are so specific. Goodness. Okay. 9 and flat.
And comments, y'all can get viewers can guess in the comments too if you want to.
Okay, so I'm gonna guess that you probably are 5'9" ish, something around there. You like peppers and onions. Who doesn't? And the other one was that you went to boarding school in Scotland, which is so specific. But at the same time, I don't know because you combine spirituality and sexuality. So I feel like maybe you could have done that. You know what? I'm gonna go with the obvious. I'm gonna say you don't like peppers and onions because most people do, and I'm just gonna think that that's the one that should be true, but it's probably not.
Well, I despise peppers and onions. I won't eat it. I'll throw the whole dish away. I don't eat nothing, no spaghetti, no Mexican food, nothing with peppers. I don't want it on my cheesesteak, my hoagie, nothing. I can't do peppers and onions. I really don't like most vegetables, like broccoli, but that's it. I did go to boarding school in Scotland, but I went to Scotland. I went to boarding school in Scotland, PA, Scotland, Pennsylvania, from 6th through 12th grade. And I am 5'9" in flex. And I know there's friends watching. Yes, I am 5'9". That's what my doctor told me my job is. So, yeah, so that was fun. Yeah, give yourself some rounds of applause. So we got to know, and we did things like that just to, the heart of my Vulva Me for buying about women is just to show the multifaceted and multi-dimensional dynamic, all of the synonyms that make there's no one way to be a Black woman, but there are some things that are unique to our experiences. So when we think about our topic for today, being a Black woman in predominantly white spaces, we are going to just really figure out what that looks and feels like. Okay, so question number one. Michael Jackson said, "It doesn't matter if you're Black or white." But does it? Is the question. Does it matter in your respective spaces? As an epidemiologist, sexuality research, like not only just a researcher, but a sexuality researcher. You have space in academia, Dr. Ashley. You have space in the CDC, which is my daytime job. I also am grant funded by the CDC, so I know that experience as well. And then Zay, first of all, folks don't even know what IO psychology is. That's the first thing. So the field itself is unique. And then to be a Black woman in that space, the same thing with graphic design, mass communication, and things like that. Does it matter if you're Black or white? Either one. What's gonna go on?
It really does. Like I said, I'm a IO psychologist, and my whole field, we deal with the whole race, discrimination. We deal with those topics heavily. But it matters because of representation and diversity and perspective. Like, the biggest things that I'm called on for my job is because of my diverse perspective and my background. I'm able to speak to people that other people may not be able to speak to in the way that I can speak to them. Also, my perspective gives people assurance that something was looked at in the right way. So, for instance, if you know that you're a Black person and then another Black person is assessing your, let's just say, your hiring materials or, your interview, that would give not only just you as a person, but even the courts, a little bit more assurance that, hey, there was no discrimination here. There was someone who relates to their experience, who was able to understand what they were saying and to be able to give a fair evaluation. So it matters if you're Black or white, even in that positive sense, for me, because we need the diversity and we need that representation.
Dr. Ashley?
Yes, 1,000% sure, yes. And I would say for me, because I am in the field of epidemiology, because I am in the field of research, it matters on levels. So it matters from the standpoint of doing research with brown people and having that trusted interviewee or researcheree position. So it matters that way. It matters when it comes to looking at data and evaluating it and writing manuscripts. So analyzing the data. It matters when it comes to being published in peer-reviewed journals, and whether or not the reviewers themselves are of color or care that you're researching and talking about people of color. So there's levels, I am often the only Black woman on my teams, that way for years. And I actually bought this shirt because I was the only Black epidemiologist on my team in a state health department.
Wow.
And I wanted something to make me feel like I belonged there.
Right.
And so it has always mattered. And I like to show students, people who are interested in the field, that they too can belong because I'm here and I'm creating space. And I'm doing it in a way that is allowing to hire those in positions of power to see Black people, women, as just as credible. We do just as much as the work. And we deserve to have space.
Awesome. Thank you. And so I'm going to skip down, Alex, to like question 4, because we are in that space. Like you mentioned it also, that you mentioned about, being a Black person to review certain things, and being, like the courts being able to say, oh, their Black person was, looked at it. So it may show that I had that lens of, certain things. But do you feel like there's a specific, like a unique expectations on you because you are one of the only Black women in your field or and on your team? Do you feel like that is there like pressure? Because I can imagine like from thinking about with Zay, like if you have a resume that comes across your desk, I mean, you may not necessarily be able to tell if they were Black from the resume, but then sometimes you're like, this is what I know that this is but is there a lot of pressure to like show up for your Black people in in those spaces? Like, is there how does that feel?
Absolutely, there's pressure to show up, not just from outside, like just within my own division, but even just the candidates or the employees who look at me, and so they see me in this position of, I guess you would say, kind of privilege or power because of the clearance levels that we have and just different other things that come along with the role. But they look at us and they look to us and they trust me. There's a lot of trust. So if something was to go wrong, they'll look like, well, did Zay say something? Because I know Zay should, as a Black person, it's like, she should be speaking up for us, or, something like that. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure there. A lot of expectations sometimes. And so they feel more comfortable even sometimes coming to me about different things. So I'm just that person, like, they may feel more comfortable with me than some of my colleagues at times. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Dr. If you could answer that question, but then also just for the people watching, I know you said it a bit in your introduction, but just clarify what epidemiologist is and like what you do like on a day-to-day, and then answer your question about the unique expectations.
Sure. So really, I'm a social epidemiologist, which means that, so basically epidemiologists, we look at trends and distributions of disease, basically that's what it is in a nutshell. So we look at a lot of, for me specifically, I look at a lot of like national or state level data, and we sort of can track to see how the trends go up and down for a specific disease or a specific health outcome. So I've done that at the state level for 2 years. My current role, I'm not using epidemiology in that way. I'm looking at it from a lens of social structures or systems like racism, discrimination. How do those things impact health outcomes and the increases or decreases in positivity of the disease? So basically, now I do not work with COVID, but I'm going to use COVID as an example. So if we see an increase in cases of COVID, that can be related to whether or not people have access to healthcare, whether or not they know where to go to get a free test. And so if they don't know that they have a positive result, but they're around people, they could be spreading the disease to other people. But what are the barriers to getting them tested? What are the barriers to getting them treatment? What is the medical mistrust around, should I even get a test? What happens if my test is positive? What stigma do I feel about that? So those social aspects of a disease are the things that I have tended to focus on more recently. So I want to say that one more time. I do not work on COVID. I was using an example. But what I would say is, as far as unique expectations, I think that it comes with showing up for work. So because the types of things I work on are social structures like racism, discrimination, I live and breathe and move in a group, being Black, that has historically been oppressed. So my perspective as a Black woman every day is going to be different than someone who's not Black working on health equity, right? We're still doing the work together, but my everyday experiences of being oppressed or having family members, you friends, whoever, when I'm watching on the news about police brutality and all of these things that are happening to us, that changes the perspective of how we approach certain issues, right? And as a scientist and a researcher, yes, I have the educational expertise or the backing to say, yes, this is how we might approach this, but I also have I'm Black.
Right.
And, we can't do things the way we've been doing them because they don't work.
Right. Awesome. Thank you. And it's really interesting because then I think about I don't, and I've never worked in a space that is white dominated, but I've worked in spaces that were white controlled. Like the leadership was often white and did not represent the group of people that we call it. So like the social worker, our leadership did not represent the people who were making the policies, did not represent the groups that the policies impacted. And now my current job, it's interesting because I'm in this space where my executive leadership is Black, but my direct leadership, who I report to, is not. That is this is the first time in my adult life that I've ever reported to someone that did not look like me, which I know is a unique experience. But the thing that as a social worker, Black women are the ones doing it. Like, when you really look at Black women that are in the trenches, and I'm in Philadelphia, which is when you look at, I work at the for the school district of Philadelphia is predominantly Black. I was a social worker. Predominantly Black people make up the child welfare system, and so having this experience. I'm like navigating this. Like, you really don't get it, and like the well-meaning white folk. I hear you, but you don't get it. And so it's really interesting that you are saying like how to, navigate those spaces. And I hear it, though I'm not, like I said, the only Black person in my space. But one that leads to the question though, like, because I'm not the only person in my space, I feel more comfortable showing up as unapologetic. I mean, Zay, you know me, so I as much as I try to, I can't do it. And it's just what it is. So I feel comfortable showing up unapologetically who I am. Like, I changing my hair every 2 weeks, not necessarily per se because, we at work. However, with my like we do have our moments where we forget that everybody's we just, do our things. Like, how do you all show up, present at work on a day-to-day basis? Like,
right now I'm working from home, so I'm showing up with my camera off. Most times. I mean, sometimes I cut it on, depending on who is leading the meeting, if it is a virtual meeting. But a lot of times I'm showing up, coming in, camera off, so that I don't have to physically like this show up, because sometimes, well, at least over the summer, it was hard to show up watching everything that was happening here in Atlanta, or just in general on TV. Some days it was mentally exhausting to show up, like, and be physically present. But I was going into the office. I work in a very, I guess you could call it a corporate environment to a certain extent, but it's definitely more business casual. Well, more business than casual, I should say. And so I have to show up. Well, I believe that I have to show up on point. Like that is something that I've always been taught, that, in a federal entity, you, especially as a Black person, Black woman, like you have to show up like, dressed like your boss dresses. Those are messages that I received. So I've always kind of adapted to that, because I don't want there to be any reason that you are looking at me in any kind of way. So I mean, I guess that's kind of how I show up.
For me, my showing up isn't as much physical, like what you see, but we are business casual. And just to say, like, in my department, we actually have Black leaders, female leaders actually, which is a cool thing. And we're more business casual, but I show up with my big hair. There are times, and not just at this job, but there's been other jobs where I've showed up in my braids or either in my straight hair, and that could be a whole nother thing with that. But for the most part, I really have to show up really objective. There is little emotion that needs to be seen. And that could be kind of hard, having to constantly show up in that way. And like Dr. Ashley said, in the sense of the current events, and how emotionally charged those things were. Even with me working at a courthouse, so we had to, have guards at our courthouse at one point, just because, threats that were being made during that time, being in Birmingham, Alabama. So you could just imagine that. You're still having to just kind of show up with the steadiness about you, with the temperament about you that's not, I don't know, that doesn't seem professional.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So how it is definitely hard, and it's like Dr. X, you said something like really good, that and we kind of all got those messages of like the way you're supposed to be, and then think about like respectability politics and how just like all back to make sure you got clean drawers on when you go to the doctor. I mean, you should probably wear like in general. But like just the idea that you shouldn't go outside, don't go outside with your head all over your head, don't go outside looking crazy, like all these things that we learned, like the name of decorum, but it really like where's the line between decorum and policing, which will lead me to my next question about microaggressions. And so as we are showing up as we are in these spaces, you all not having other folks like you or look like you on your team, and then myself, being like led in that by someone that doesn't look like me for the first time. I personally have experienced a lot of aggression, and sometimes just flat out racism, like at this point. And how has your experience with microaggressions been? Like, if you can, if you feel comfortable sharing with some of your experiences with microaggressions.
For me, I wouldn't say I've really experienced so many microaggressions, because I believe that my team is pretty sensitive, culturally sensitive, and just because of the type of work that we do. But there have been times where you may just experience something like when your hair changes, like, ooh, like it's some foreign, I don't know, like it's just some foreign thing. Like, how long is it going to last that way? I've even been told, and it wasn't at this current job, it was at a previous job. I had a colleague, I had braids in my hair and I had taken them out, and then I had straightened my hair. And he was like, yeah, you shouldn't wear it like with those braids in anymore. It looks weird. Like, just wear your natural hair. I'm like, excuse me, who are you? And why do you have such an opinion about how I present myself? It was just so used to like this straight hair and stuff. And I was just like, as soon as I had braids, it was a problem. So it was just interesting, even on the sense of, I would say microaggression for me also is like, and I don't know if this is just unique to Black women, but like, I'm passionate when I speak. I have emotion behind what I say. And so sometimes I'm called sassy. Sometimes I'm told like it just may be a personality thing that's different about us. And so I'm constantly having to self-monitor those things and just being aware, just to be able to navigate in certain spaces at times.
I would say for me, I've dealt with this in quite often, actually, in a lot of different spaces. So I've dealt with this in school, you know, in my master's program, my PhD programs, and it was more so like the instructors. You know, you talked about changing your hair. Oh, you know, is that Ashley? Like, you know, yes, it's me. I'm the same person that I was. It's just a different hairstyle. You don't say that to other people of other races if they dye their hair a different color, right? But if I change my hairstyle, you know, my hair's straight right now, but you know, my hair is naturally curly too. And so, you know, or if I've wore braids or a twist out or what have you, you know, then I must be a different Ashley today. Or I've had experiences where, you know, I remember one job very specifically. We were working in the field, and we basically did sex education to non-traditional schools, so alcohol and drug treatment centers, schools where maybe the young adults were expelled from traditional schools, so they were like living in another environment, group homes, things like that. So we did dress pretty casual because we wanted to feel like we could relate or be relatable. We didn't want to come off as super professional and lecturing to these adults. So we were allowed to dress casual, but of course I still dressed nice. And my coworkers did not. They wore sweats, and they were not of color. And I remember a boss telling me one time that I did not look professional in jeans, a blazer, and Sperry's. But this other person who had on a clear jogging suit clearly just rolled out of bed. Didn't even, I don't know if she ever combed her hair. But she was.
I'm sorry, did you say clear as in like see-through, or clear as in that's clearly a like obviously
Clearly a jogging suit. Clearly.
Oh, I thought to say, wait, what?
But I was told that I was not dressed professionally. I didn't. And I couldn't understand it. But at the time, I was the only one with a master's degree. I was the only one of color. I was the only one who spoke with authority. You know, I was the only one who knew how to relate to the students. My pre and post tests were always the highest scored, always had the best feedback. And it was very clear that I was like excelling, maybe overqualified for the job. But I loved the job, and I kept getting these weird interactions with this supervisor. It was everything. Everything I did somehow was wrong. She said that I talked too urban with the students. What? I'm relating to them, you know. So I don't think she understood that sometimes when you're, you know, of color or Black, whatever, you can code switch. You know, she was not, anyway, had to leave that job. But it was very taxing, very stressful to deal with those types of things in a work environment, all because I'm trying to do my job.
And so thank you for that, Dr. Eshe. This is a perfect word that leads into our next question, which is specifically about code switching and the pressure that you also said to code switch. I've been now, like I said, I came to this thought very quickly, being as though this is the first time I had to report to someone who didn't look like me, and I decided that I'm not going to code switch anymore. Cindy Lee Alves, a great sexuality colleague of mine, she did a presentation a while back. We were somewhere, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm done with code switching. I'm not doing that's dead." And I was like, "Right." And at the time, I felt that experience with being like living like this dual life, if you will, between the field of sexuality and theology and trying to be a faith-based sexuality educator or whatever. And I said, I was like, you know, I'm not code switching no more. Y'all gonna get this Jesus, or y'all gonna get going. It's just what it is. And so, and I got comfortable with that. But then to really recognize what code switching is as an African-American woman, and then having to do it at work, that was a whole new experience for me. And it's just like, and it's impacting my life, like physically. Like, it's like the stress and like the things that folks don't really recognize with microaggressions are like, though they're like little mosquito bites. Like there's just little like ticks, like over, and then eventually like over and over and over again, they become, now your whole body is swollen. Cause you know what a mosquito bite feel like in the wrong spot. Like can you imagine like between your toes or like, or your nipple or something? Like, can you imagine what that's like? And so to have to go there every day and say, to feed my family, I have to subject myself to, to this. And when you think about, like you said, being in urban spaces, or I feel like you have to live this double life, whereas like AAVE, African American Vernacular English, is a recognized diet. Like this is real. Like I'm not, and I got to a place where I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. And my mother always told me, you got to teach people how to treat you. And so the same thing you said earlier, Zay, about, being passionate. And you know me, I'm very demonstrative. I'm gonna speak my mind. I know how to conduct myself if there is a way to know how. I'm respectful. I'm about my business and I know my stuff, which means when I come in here and I'm saying what I'm going to say, you're not going to be able to sway me. So in my space where there are other Black folks who are more easily swayed, then I stand out. And so someone has said before, oh, they don't say anything to you because they're scared of you. And I'm like, no. We're not even going to put that narrative out there because there's nothing to be scared of me about. But what you're not going to do is talk to me all kind, because I don't care what your position is. We're all grown-ups in here. We all can drink. We all can drive. We have all the same legal rights. So watch your tone. Okay. And so what I was coached around developing, building capacity around intergenerational communication. I said, like, I'm sorry, say what? I know how to respect my elders. I know very well how to respect my elders, and I know not to say nothing crazy, put a handle on that. I don't want nobody to go out and get a switch. So this is all in my DNA, but what I know is you're not going to talk to me crazy. So when I think about making a decision to not code switch, in some spaces is making a decision to put your livelihood in jeopardy. So how do you navigate that? Like, how do you, and is there like an impact in the moment? Like, I know for me, like when folks used to say all the time, like you put on your white voice, like when you answer the phone and you conduct in business and, and things like that. And now I am like uniquely aware of how my voice inflections, when they change, when I answer phones, and things like that. Even my kids was like, oh, mom, I could tell that voice, you're in the meeting. And I was like, and my son, if you know my oldest son, he's terrible. He's always trying to play me. So that definitely was him trying to play me. But I'm like, am I doing it? And then it got to a point where I'm like, I'm not doing it no more. So is that like an experience for you all? Like, how do you manage code switching, or do you feel like it's a necessary evil, or what?
To be honest, I'm finding more and more that sometimes code switching is necessary, but then I'm also finding that sometimes code switching is an internal thing that we may want to visit, because it's one thing to where if you feel like your code switch voice is clearer, or that it's more professional or whatever, that's a thing. But then it's another thing, which is what I've experienced, and I'm growing from, is just code switching so that you don't not sound like the people who are around you. So that's a bunch of anxiety. It's like it's not natural. You're having to make yourself do that. And that's funny. Like just this past weekend, I was with a few friends, and I had to go and conduct some business. And so they were standing off to the side, and then they're like, who is that talking? And it was me. And they're like, where did this voice come from? This is not even you. And it's just so natural to just turn it on anytime I have to do business, or just, something of that nature. So yeah. And I'll just say, when the thing about it being necessary in my workplace, not necessarily for me, but there was a director that I was working with. She was like a little bit upper level executive. And, we were just kind of in her office or whatever, me and another colleague, we were doing some business, and she mentioned, we were talking about her outfit. We was like, oh, you dress so nice. Like, it's so nice. It's not just that she's an executive, but she was saying that she said, I have to do this in order to maintain respect in the space that I'm in. And for me, I was just like, I wish somebody would try and control what I wore to work. You know, and I was like, my knowledge and the expertise that I bring is so great. Like, it doesn't matter what I put on, you know, as long as I'm decent. But for her, it was like they won't even take my expertise if I don't look a certain way. So yeah, that was interesting to me.
Yeah, I felt all of that. Because I would 100% agree with who that executive person was. And I think it depends on the setting of the environment. Before I, started in this postdoc position, I was working in the state health department. I didn't really feel like I had to do that. And I just spoke. I mean, and I do. I speak this way all the time. Like, this is my voice. This is Ashley. This is what you're gonna get. Whether I'm Ashley or I'm Dr. Towns, this is who you're gonna get. The only time I feel like it's necessary to code switch is if I'm speaking to a certain audience where I'm not necessarily. I don't really think of it as code switching necessarily as removing some of the jargon of all of the science behind some of the things that I do. But it is, in a sense, a code switch, because if I'm speaking to a group of MDs or other scientists at a conference versus I'm speaking at a workshop to high schoolers, that is a code switch. You can't speak to both audiences in the same way. The same is true as if I'm speaking to a group of college students who are all white versus I'm speaking to a group of college students who are all Black. My rhetoric, my jokes, my whatever is going to be different, but I'm still presenting as me. I'm still presenting with authority. I'm still going to talk just like this, clear. But I think that sometimes, that is where I don't think that it's a pressure to do it. But I do feel as though some things I want to say, I can't say. And I have to bite my tongue because I'm concerned that if I say how I'm truly feeling and I'm not speaking to someone at work that I like 100% trust to say that, I don't know what the repercussions is going to be. So a lot of times I just keep things to myself. And I've just learned how to be a loner at work, if you will. Like, I don't have a lot of coworker friends because I don't know if I say something, if it'll be used against me later. Not that they would, but I don't want someone else to overhear it. Like, and I've seen that in work environments where it's been used against other people. And I don't want something like that to come against me. Especially because I feel like a junior scientist, I'm trying to, elevate. So I guess there's pressure not to code switch versus a pressure to code switch in the work environment.
And it's the interesting thing about that, like how you broke that down. But for me, not using as or feeling comfortable to use certain jargon, that speaks more to accessibility to me, like making sure the information that you're presenting is accessible and that, for transfer of learning and all of those things. Whereas code switching is less about being, understood or heard, but more about being accepted. And so, like, I want to change. I want to, switch my code. My mother, God bless her heart. Y'all, if y'all know me for any amount of time, y'all know me and Lisa, we, I love her, but we had our stuff. And so she was the ultimate code switcher. And that thing set me up. And I think that might be why I'm like, I'm not doing that. Because there will be a time we would go to her boss's house and she would like practice her laugh change as we walk up to the door. Like, she would get out the car and like, and I'm like, what's funny though? And like, when she got in the space, my sister and I would be like, Papa, who this woman? Like, and so I really did not want to do that. I want to be there. And then as I said, I never had to though, because I was always surrounded by just like really boss bomb, like Black women for at least 3 tiers of supervisory levels. It wasn't like, it was almost like the white folk were in like the unattainable ivory tower, like that make the laws and stuff. So like, I didn't really have to pay attention to that. But it's just like with code switching, it's almost just like, I am going, because I speak well. It's just what it is. It's not even a matter of, and I hate the idea that a certain tone of voice that is believed to be a white tone is what's proven to be professional or acceptable and things like that, as if like, our natural tone or dialect or cultural inflections is problematic. But I do also, I feel it, and it's almost like a decision that I have to make every day. When I first started my job, initially I was supervised by a Black woman, and she's like the best Black woman to ever walk the earth, Dr. Natalie Matherin. Shout out to you. Miss you, boo. She was also a guest on my Vulva Me. And we were in a meeting. I'd been there maybe a week, right? And this was like this is the lifetime dream job of a lifetime. In their week, she brought me in. I had she was busy, so I had to figure this grant out on my own. And I did all this study, and I was ready to go to show off in this meeting, right? Got into it. We kind of got into some discrepancies about what we were going to do in this particular meeting. And I had a bright idea, and I got real comfortable because I was killing it. Like, I mean, I was like commanding, or these people don't know me from Adam, but I was shutting it down. And I got real comfortable when I was like, I mean, for real, and then went into saying my thing. And then like, soon as it came out my mouth, like I literally did this, like I clapped and all of that. I was like, for real. And then like, as it came out, I was like, and I looked over at her and I saw her see her, and we both was like, and then I was like, well, in actuality, if you want to, and then, went into that. And I was just like, oh my God. And I was like genuinely embarrassed. And then I was mad, like, why am I embarrassed? Because what's wrong with saying for real? But like, it's like, I just really hate that for us. Like, as Black women, I hate that that's something that we have to deal with. And I feel like we should overdose in self-care and just filling our space that we can control with all of the nice things. And one of the nice things that you could fill your space with are candles. So the Intimacy Firm, which I founded, has a new line of candles out where you can escape, or explore. And so let me tell you something about these here candles, which was also created by a Black woman, because y'all know I live for, sorry, my computer's getting down. I live for Black women. Lynn McCaddy Candles, follow them on Instagram, created this candle, and escape is like, I wish I could call it close my door and lock it. So like when you come home from work and you like, I don't feel like this, Karen has been Karening all day and I need a minute. That's what escape is. But then also, if you like, I killed it at work today, and like I'm ready to, get cute, like how I'm looking right now. So you want to be looking how I'm looking, and then you and Bae get ready to go out. This one right here, whoo child. This Explorer makes me feel good on the inside. So, Escape and Explore candles will be out on Black Friday. Yes, the pregame candle. That's exactly what this is. But you know what? For the saints who don't have nobody, you're single, pleasure is not just about sex. Pleasure is about all, and Goody, my favorite, she talks about sensuality and engaging all of your senses, including smell. So make sure you do that. But as we are indulging in our self-care to make up for all the nonsense that we have to deal with being the only Black women in our workplace, so that we can show up again the next day, when we've done all of that, how do you ladies show up for Black women in your field?
So for me, I would say that I show up in the way that they need me to. So I get contacted by students. I have several mentees. And I show up the ways that they need from me. Whenever people reach out to me and say, I love what you do. I want to be you when I grow up. Those types of emails, DMs, I love those, because I didn't have someone like me when I was in school. I didn't have, someone that I could look up to, that I felt like was young, relatable, fun, but also smart and about their business. So, I try to make space and time to review things for them, talk to them, answer their questions, talk to them about graduate school, share about what I do at work. I give, several of my mentees have my cell phone number, and I tell them, like, you can text me, like, it's not, don't feel awkward about, I'm here and you're here and there's this gap between us professionally. Like, you can talk to me about the things that you have questions about or concerns about, and we can navigate this thing together. I've written letters of recommendation for students. Those are the ways that I try to show up for people who are in this field, who are new to the field, who want to see a change, who want to impact it, our field in a way that that we can't do. We're doing the best that we can. And, when we started, there was a very small pool of Black sexuality educators and Black sexuality researchers, and we're growing. And so, I more recently have been serving on the peer review process. So I'm reviewing journal articles that can get published because someone sat on a review panel for me so that I could get published. So really just kind of like sending the elevator back down and trying to be as involved as my schedule will allow. So I don't take on too much, but I do, try to share resources of the people that I know, like if they're having something, I will repost it or share it. Or if I see a conference that someone might be interested in, I will email them the information. I've paid for students to go to conferences because I just feel like not everybody has the financial resources. And pay it forward for them, if they really truly want to go, I don't think that money should be a barrier. If their school or, something isn't available to them. So I try to do as much as I can to help those who really want to, be in this field and be successful in this field.
And it's a very frustrating how inaccessible some of these conferences are. That's why I'm so grateful for NC SexCon. Shout out to Tanya Bass, for creator and founder of the North Carolina Sex Conference, for Sister Song, like those conferences that say, Black women, I see you, I want to make it accessible because we have this good information that we want to make available, but we don't want to price it out, people out of the knowledge, like some of our, governing bodies and things like that, who shall remain nameless. And it's just the thought of, as you said, like just reaching back and like sending an elevator back down when it comes to like research. There is no peer review. I'm in a PhD program now, and one of the expectations, I'm in the middle of writing a paper, which I hate. I love hate homework. I just wanted to say that out loud. But one of the requirements is that all of our references be peer reviewed. And so when I'm writing a paper on the 7 types of intimacy and Black Pentecostal Christians, that hasn't been peer reviewed or studied in, You hear me? Did I freeze? Hello? No.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
You're not frozen and we can hear you.
Well, all right. Well, thank you. So I had to tell my professor, Tanya Bass and Shamira Howard, like they are the foremost voices in this field. So guess who I'm citing. And so, you're going to have to deal with it. You don't like it, that's your business. And so I pointed back to my interview for the program, like, are y'all going to try to whitewash and sanitize and like your white Eurocentric ideologies all over my work? Because if that's the case, I'm not even spending my money, with you all. And so being able to make things accessible for us to show up in these peer reviewed journals, and shout out to Dr. James Wiley for Association of Black Sexologists, their journal and things like that. Like we just need more of us like that. Zay, how do you show up for Black women in your field?
A little bit of what Dr. Ashley talked about as far as, reaching back and making myself available. Oftentimes I have people who, like you said, not many people know about our field. And so they have questions about, is it really for them? And so I'm sure to really be honest with them and give them all the resources that were afforded to me, because I found a mentor by chance who is the dopest out here. But so I really make myself available, but a little bit more about what I do is because I know the workplace and because I know what hiring managers are looking for, I often help people with their resumes. I look over their resumes. I may offer suggestions. I sit down and actually hear them, hear what they do, what they're good at, to make sure that that's communicated in their resumes, prepare them for interviews, prepare them for the type of workplace that they're going into, kind of like help them kind of open up their mind to what they can expect and how they should show up, or in ways that they can improve, giving them resources on how to improve, just really being there so that they can get to the places that they want to get to and that they're well equipped when they get there.
Thank you. So I didn't ask me, I asked you, but I'm gonna answer it anyway. So I work a lot. I work in two spaces. As I said, you all know that I work with and as a faith-based or Christian sexuality educator. And y'all know Black people love Jesus. So it's Black women, and Black women make up more of the Christian church than any other space. And so being authentically myself and who I am with my struggles as well as my triumphs is how I show up for Black women, challenging Black women, even being able to responsibly critique Black women, because I've been having a lot of conversations lately about how do I be like, I stand for Black women, and my platform is Black women take top billing. Which is why my Vulva Me, created for, by, about Black women, the anthology for, by, and about Black women. But also Black women, we got some stuff. Like we got some stuff with us that we need to, work through. So being responsible in the critique of that is how I show up. And my work with the school district, I'm working with our babies. And little Black girls do not get the privilege of being little Black girls. They don't get the privilege of being little girls. They're over sexualized. They're parentified. Lower social economic status requires you to have to wear a bunch of hats when you in the house. Like if you are the oldest child, if you're the middle child, like you taking folks to school, you coming home and heating up food because mommy has to work, you putting folks to bed, you learn how to wash clothes at 5 and 6 years old. So like the privilege of just figuring it out, not always afforded to us. So when I'm in classrooms and I'm teaching and doing workshops and things like that with little girls, like I lean into their innocence in ways that I think is foreign to them, and almost sometimes to the point where they push back. Coming from the child welfare space and seeing tons and tons of child abuse and neglect and sexual abuse and things like that, like I call them all my babies. I'm really leaning not to like infantilize them either, but also to just say like you're a child, and be okay with being a kid and what comes with that, because this world is going to deal you a raw hand in a short amount of time. So just ease up, as much as you can. So that's how I want to show up and be just being unapologetic in who I am. Like, school teachers, public school teachers have a really hard job. And I just can't even imagine people saying, I want to go to school and spend all this money to learn how to be a teacher and be in a class for 8 hours a day. I don't understand. So God bless you for those who do it. So when I'm in the classroom and they in there cutting up and fussing, I'm like, sit your tail down. And some of the teachers, our fairer skinned friends are like, and I'm like, yeah, you can't do that because you don't have that, you ain't in the family. But me, you gonna sit your tail down, little girl, because I'm talking. And so I feel like that accountability, which may look different, I think it teaches them or encourages them to want to show up and be their best self, even in a world that says they're not good enough. So that's how I do it. So speaking of my Vulva Me, the anthology, I have an excerpt from the book that I want to read. Alex, this is not on the list. She's gonna fuss at me. I didn't put this on the list. I apologize. And I'm going to read it, and then I want you all to respond to it. It's called The Black Woman in the Room by LaToya Cheathan, licensed marriage and family therapist. So she talks about, in the beginning of the poem, she talks about being the only Black woman in the room, living in California, and then eventually she moved to Atlanta.
Wait, is this gonna make me cry?
I can't make no promises. I don't think so. I mean, but you cry over, I don't know, Zay. I can't make no promises. But anyway, she says, many were from, I found myself 100% Black or Black, Indigenous, people of color spaces, and I love them because I could share openly with others who felt like I felt and who shared many of the experiences I had. I was able to connect with college educated professionals who were interested in fighting for social justice, giving back to their communities while not forgetting where they came from. Many were from places and spaces where they were talked about for not being Black enough, where they had few, if any, Black teachers throughout their schooling, where they were the ones client came to when they were looking for someone who could relate, someone who understood what it meant to live with brown skin in a white world. And when we connected, magic was made, bonds were formed. We only wanted to lift one another up. We were brothers and sisters from the same background, from the same tribe, knowing each other's struggles and pains, and with a common goal to reach our own dreams and make our ancestors proud. How hearing that, knowing the backstory, that at one point she was in a space where she was the only Black woman in the room. Then she moved somewhere where she no longer was. She was no longer an anomaly. She was no longer the token. She was no longer the one that everybody was in awe of because there was a bunch of other people around her doing the same thing, being as dope as she was. She found her equals. What would that mean for you 5, 10, 20 years from now to be in this field and no longer be an anomaly? Do, 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 do.
So I'm gonna say that I feel like I'm getting to that space now, or I feel like I'm in that space now. A few years ago, I remember going to my first ASECT conference. And for those not in sexuality, ASECT is I think it's the American Association of Sexuality Education Counselors and Therapists, something along those lines. I remember going there for the first time and feeling like that, like I was by myself. And then I slowly but surely started to meet people and get introduced to other people. And back then I was a student, so I didn't know that eventually the people I met, like Tanya Bass, like Dr. Lex Brown, I didn't know that then as a student that those women would be people. I mean, I looked up to them then, but I still look up to them now. But I didn't know that, all these years later, I would be, looking to them in a way as colleagues. I mean, I still don't quite feel that way all the time. But I think that, I have worked on, projects and have had people in the field vet some of my work. And I have invited people to be a part of future projects. And so I feel like I'm just now kind of starting to build that and feel like there's an even plane between us. But it's not there yet. And what it would feel like to have that would be this sort of like this sisterhood of sexuality researchers, educators, however term they use to describe themselves. And I think it would feel like the way you are portraying this, My Vulva Me, to be like a night with your girlfriends, like a world where we have colleagues who are like our girlfriends, where we can reach out to them and say, oh, I'm working on this, or you're working on that, or, can we collaborate? Or I love what you're doing. How can I support? How can I send someone your way? And I think we're getting there. But I don't know that we've actually reached actualization of that. Like it's moving in a really positive direction. That snowball is getting bigger and bigger, and it's starting to feel like that. But I think that with time, it will feel like that. I think it's just a matter of people knowing who is out there. Social media has definitely made that easier to find people. Hashtags have made it easier people because you can just follow hashtags and then you'll see who in the field is talking about those things. So yeah, I think that we're getting there, and it would feel good. It would feel amazing to have that, and it's just not there yet. But I think I'm glad I'm not in that previous space where I felt completely all alone. For sure, yes, Black Girl Magic.
Zay, did you have anything you want to add?
Always Black Girl Magic. A lot of what Dr. Ashley has said, I think also for me, it would feel like relief. It'll feel like relief and just being, myself and being free to just, grow, develop in whatever ways I need to, but then also just to shine without, without being just the only one, but then also having that community of people who also, just kind of appreciate it. But then it'll feel like trustworthiness. So like everything that makes it hard, in the workplace, kind of, by yourself, because with me on my team currently, we're made of mostly, I have mostly white colleagues on my specific team. But when we hired in another person that's on the same level as me, that was a Black woman, and it was such a relief. Like we can actually we get each other, like we can talk about things and we just already understand it. So it makes it easier. So relief, you don't have to like kind of see if they'll understand where you're coming from or what you're saying. And so when you meet those people, it creates not just like a bond and it's easier. You have someone that you can trust and that you can go to, but then you have other people who can see it. And so, and then it becomes more normal. And so it creates a normalcy also in the workplace. So for me, it would feel like relief.
And I think that I asked the question in the affirmative, but it was written down, if y'all remember from the list in back, because the question was, what do you feel like you are missing out on by being, not having many others that look like you in that space. But in this way, I think we, look at casting vision, for what it, could be. And to Dr. Estes' point, like, particularly in the field of sexuality, like the Black Sexologists, Educators Council, like crew is just like, we like stand for one another because we recognize that the field of sexuality is still super white, and they really, and they want to, they pay the white people all the monies to present, and then most of the information that they present came from us anyway. So why we just cut out the middleman and just come on and pay Black women, cite Black women, all of the things, and just like looking at you, like I understand that experience of like, looking from afar and then being a colleague. And when I saw your presentation, I think you were presenting on your research. I hadn't yet presented anywhere yet. And I was sitting in the audience like it was just like so amazing. So like you mentioned Tanya and Dr. Lex and Shamira and Dr. Shamika, and like even having some of those voices on my Vulva Me, I'm just like, I'm not even trying to be like fake humble. Like in real life, I'm like, I'm not going to quite call you colleague. Like, I just feel like I'm not there. I have not yet arrived. But I mean, we kind of do the same thing, but like you do it way better. And so I definitely understand it, just the experience of just like, it's just like a freedom, particularly when you're in very stressful environments, like to be able to have that venting space where you can vent, because there's nothing worse than kind of crafting your vent in a palatable way. Like you just want to come out and just like, yo, shorty tripping, like, what's up? Like, and then be cool with that and then go back on the floor and I'm like, okay, so here's what we're going to do. You know what I mean? And I've had that with my initial boss. I had that in the past where I can go in, because I've always been the type of worker where I'm confident in my work. Like I know the work. I just need you to listen to me fuss, or if I wrote my email and I agonize over the words, I need you to be like, Brittany, just press send, like that kind of stuff. So to be able to have that space to be around, like not have to search far and wide for those spaces to be like, this is what's happening and I'm mad about it. And then just say it and let it come out and then, wipe my tears or whatever's going on because I cry all the time and go and take care of business. So that would, for me, that's what it would be, would just be like, I can just be. Like, I know I had no more having to do. I could just be. And that is still excellence. That is still magic. That is still quality. That's still success. But it's in a way that is not bogged down by the burden of having to make me more palatable for you. You know what I mean? And which is a part of the reason why I really wanted to have this conversation with y'all, because it's like, this is my first time experiencing it, and I work with about 5-6 other Black people, and if I'm drowning, I can only imagine, what it's like for you and others. And so, before we get to our closing question, we have about 15 minutes left. This is also not on the list, Alex, so don't yell. But I want to do another activity. I want to do an activity when we think about all of the amazing Black women that we've had of old, of present, and, those doing amazing things to come. And that includes yourself as well. If you had to create a starting five team, like if you want to think sports or if you want to think about whatever project, whatever your heart project, whatever you would spend the rest of your life doing, and you had to create a team to do it, who would be the CEO? Who would be the second in command? And who would be the assistant? Any Black woman in the whole wide world doing whatever that will make up your dream team. And it could be you. You could fill one of those roles, or you could do something else. But who would be your team? And if y'all need a second to think about it, y'all want me to go first? Yeah, okay. So quite obviously, I'm going to be the CEO. This is why Alex is this. You see that, Alex? She just pulled that together. Go ahead. So quite obviously, Alex is on the team. Obviously, she's on the team. But I would be the CEO if I could do the intimacy firm or whatever type of whatever full time. I would be the CEO, and I don't know what exactly she would do, but Michelle Obama is for sure on my board. I just feel like at this point, as much as I care for her and Barack, they have to be, because she's literally the most amazing thing, walking, right? So she would be on the board. My second in command, I think that I really like, there's something warm and cuddly about about Shirley Caesar. I just feel like she would just be she's I love her, big mama, grandma, she's just there. I need that. I can run it, and then she's second in command, and then she'll keep me from doing nonsense. So I think that I appreciate that. And then my assistant, Abby Phillips from I think her last name is Phillips, from CNN. She's not my assistant, doing my grunt work type of assistant, but her, she's brilliant. And the fact that she was able to gather people together and be on, I think it's CNN, all of that long time during the election process and all that, had her facts together and flow naturally. I need somebody like that that's gonna round it all out. So that would be, right now today, that would be my dream team. And then of course, my glam squad, Lily Rose, would everywhere we go, we would beat down. And that ain't about code switching. That's just I'm cute. And thanks to them. So there's that. So who would be on your dream team?
Brittany, I haven't. I don't know. I don't know who would be on my dream team. I immediately went to my friends.
Okay.
Not even to the most famous people. But it's if they were on my team, we just need the money. And we have the brilliance, but the finances. So because of that, I'm gonna keep y'all to the side for right now.
Shout
And
out
I
to
mean,
Oprah.
the first person I think about, honestly, is Oprah, just for her. Just and it's for her money, but it's not just for her money. It's also for where she's come from, like her experience in the world, and then just even the things that she's overcome, and just the perspectives that she's had and the markets that she's been able to break into and the people that she's been able to connect, for me, which would be great. You said Michelle Obama, and I know she's probably, your
She's
typical
gonna be
person.
busy.
I
She's gonna
really,
be busy with
uh,
me. She's gonna be busy.
but but she has enough to where she's probably only gonna, come in a little bit with
Okay.
you.
Monday, Wednesday,
And so we're gonna share, yeah.
Friday.
So she has multiple streams, so that's how she works. So I would bring her in just for I read her book, Becoming, and just like hearing all of her life stories and how she kind of used those things to shape her experiences, but she didn't leave out the process to how she got here. And I think that's very important. And so I'm not just an IO psychologist, I'm a brand developer. And if a person can make a story that great and help us paint a picture that well, I need her on my team to help me make brand stories come alive.
Yeah.
And so I would be on the team also. So that would be my top 3.
Awesome. Thank you, Zay. Dr. Ashley, who are your dream team?
This is hard. This is very hard. Because first I would have to think about like what would I be doing?
Right.
Like what would I do? And because I have my hands and my feet in multiple things right now. And most of those things are white dominated spaces. So I can't even pinpoint like a Black person at those types of entities. Really. But if I could just like, I thought of like one of my friends too. And so I think that if I was thinking about like people in the field, the first person that came to my mind was Shamika Thorpe. So Dr. Shamika Thorpe, I know she's on here because we came out of school, like I think I came out of school maybe a year before her. So we're both kind of like new, not new, but fresh. And so our ideas are more, we are more adaptive, but also we think about things critically. So if, I know she was watching earlier, so if you're still on here, shout out to you, girl. And then I think that, I don't know, because there are other women doing this work that I think would be valuable. So I don't know that I could really pinpoint. I think again, I would have to really narrow down what is it that I want to do and who would bring the most value to that. Because of course I could just name drop people that I think would be helpful. But if I'm like focusing on a specific lane, like Black women and Black women's sexuality, or Black women and their access to healthcare, or Black women and maternal and child health and keeping women alive, or Black women and navigating different sexual experiences, that would look very different because I would want people to bring their expertise to the table. And so that it's really hard for me to pick. So I don't really have, I don't have a dream, but that's because I'm still exploring like, what is it that I want to do when I grow up, right? Like, who do I want to be? What do I for? I'm still navigating that space of, I just want to contribute to the field right now. Like I'm just in my like space. Like I'm in grind mode of just trying to make sure that I am reputable and credible and sought after. That I can't even imagine what that dream thing is yet because I'm focused on the here and the now and the present. And I know that maybe other people watching can identify with that. So this is a really hard question for me, but I'm going to think about this and I'm going to write this question down, a journal about this, because I want to stretch myself to think further. Like, what would that look like in 10, 15, 20 years that will all still probably be working? And some, who should I be thinking about reaching back to or staying in touch with? strengthening those relationships. So this is a great question.
Yeah. See, it just came together, but that's really good. And for those of y'all watching who are a super fan of Dr. Ashley, you're working in the field, you started school and figuring out like she's building her dream team. So gather yourself, get your credentials, get your CVs in order. Because when she calls, be ready. Be ye also ready. Okay. That's what something like that. Somewhere in here say something like that. So as we close out, I want to again thank you so very much for this. This was a very much needed conversation. These are experiences that many of us have, but don't have spaces or places to give voice to those experiences. I want stay tuned for when the intimacy firm Escape and Explore candles come out. I said Escape is like close my door and lock it, and then I can't say because this is a PG station, so I can't say what the other name for Explore was. But for those of you who are not participating in the sexual activity, if you exploring your sensuality in all of its ways, shout out to Goody Howard because it is Vulvember. This will also be a good, settle your spirit in that way as well. So those will be releasing on Black Friday. So stay tuned for that. Shout out to all of the 30 of us. 30 Black women came together to create this baby, My Vulva Me, an anthology of stories for, by, and about Black women, essays, poems, short stories. It has our trials. It has our triumphs. It has our shared experiences, our unique ones. It has some sex in there, and I was just like, woo! I wasn't sure. The bit of Eric is like it's like Eric Jerome Dickey, Omar Tyree meets Audre Lorde with a side of Def Comedy Jam and a tad bit of one of Erykah Badu's ciphers. Like it's all that. In there. I think I posted the other day that it's like testimony service if it was transcribed at a church where the slogan is "We real and not religious." You have a curse word here and there. So that's what it's about. It's coming right now. We are on track to come out November 28th in honor of Lisa Broaddus, my mother who created me. She passed away in 2017, and I want to honor her with this work. And she got right on my nerves. I need y'all to understand that she wore me out, but she was the love of my life, and everything that I am and am not is because of who she was and was not, and I truly honor her for that. So if we could close out, I would like to close out with this, with all of the things that we talked about today. If you could, we have 3 minutes and it's 3 of us in 60 seconds. If you could say what for the culture, what do we need to do to level up?
Okay, this may be a little controversial. I hope no one takes it the wrong way, but it's something that my mentor tells me. She says, be as confident as a mediocre white man.
Oh no, that's real. That's real life.
Be as confident as a mediocre white man. And it's just talking about their privileges and the things that are afforded to them, but they're so confident and they still get those things. And sometimes I know for me, you can deal with that imposter syndrome and just like, oh, I'm not whatever. But she's constantly telling me, Zay, be confident. And I'm telling you, you'll get there. So I know like that's not necessarily a practical step, but like really focus on your inner self, your confidence. You're already doing the work. You're already smart. You're already good enough. You can already do it. Just work on that confidence and execute.
Awesome. Thank you, Zay. Dr. Ashley?
That was a good one. I actually saw a meme like that and I love it. I love it. So thank you for that. I'm going to say as a culture, we need to hold one another accountable, stop making excuses. Because I think sometimes we procrastinate, we make excuses, we don't accept constructive criticism. And I think that those are all things that sharpen us, since you were talking about theology, iron sharpens iron, right? So in order for us to be our best selves, I think that we have to sharpen each other and hold each other accountable. So I think if we can do that for each other, clap, give flowers, while people are here, but also just help each other level up by, calling people out respectfully, but making sure that they're showing up as their best selves, and they're making sure that you're showing up as your best self.
So we have to show up as our best, critiquing when necessary, honoring when necessary, all the while doing it confidently as if we were some regular, average Joe white man who had everything handed to him. And the only thing that I would add to that is just look good while you do it. And whatever that look good means for you, I mean, you may not be able to look that's good. I mean, you might, but because I'm looking cute, okay? But you see, y'all looking cute too, but me brown skin girl. So listen, just look good while you're doing it. Whatever that look good, whether you are if you are in a goth, if you're in a glam, if you are in a pinup, if you are a round-the-way girl, if you rock a bamboos or these here razzle dazzles, whatever it is, be 100% who you are. Work on the stuff that's terrible, because we all got some stuff that's terrible that we need to, work through. But do it and look well at it. Like when you wake up in the morning, show up as your 100% self as much as you can. If you're struggling and you can't do it that day, take the rest as needed. But then the next day, show up and make it happen. And so I want to, again, thank my guest again. This was a really great episode, a really necessary episode. And also for the culture, for you, like real life, level up your space by buying these candles, and level up your bookshelf by buying this anthology. All available on www.theintimacyfirm.com. Thank you, Dr. Ashley. Thank you, Zaykeria. Y'all stay on while we post. But for all of us watching, and we will see you on Thursday for the season finale called Girlfriends. It's a Different World Living Single, where we will look at Black women in relationships, friendships, and business partnerships through the lens of some of our favorite 90s characters. We have Joan Carol Clayton, Maya Denise Wilkes, Regine Hunter, Khadijah James. What's that other lady's name? Whitley Gilbert. All of those people. We're gonna look at all that and get into some of the lessons we learned from those people, and some of the lessons we learned that we probably should have left on the television. So I will catch you on Thursday, same time, 8 p.m., YouTube and Facebook Live. See ya.